I'm sorry, I can't pull this one out of the ground. This tree was pruned, just like I talked about. And remember what I said about vertical wood and horizontal wood. This branch and this branch were buds 3 years ago, okay? This one grew here, that's 2 years ago's wood, and this is last year's wood, okay? This is also last year's wood, because this was just a bud that first year. And this grew vertically. Look how much different this is at the base than this. A vertical branch grows wood, okay? And one other thing I forgot to mention, this reminded me, you can leave these on, but only for so long because they're going to wear into the tree. Write down the type of tree you planted and draw yourself a map and put it in a file or put it somewhere. There are two things that fade in the orchard. Tree markings and memory. Okay? And you will not remember, I promise. You might think you're going to be good at it, but just write it down. It's going to be best. This is just an example of what you do want to take off. When you walk up to your tree the first time, let's say you've got an older tree. There are 3 Ds that you want to start with. Dead wood always comes off first, okay? Don't worry about taking off dead wood. Damaged wood is same as dead. Take off. Is that too close? That's a little close. But I thought that was going to be dead all the way in. You want to watch the dead wood. It may be dying and rotting around. You have to take that dead wood off because it starts to rot and the tree goes around it. Then you have rot inside the tree. You want to take it off. And I did cut a little too close. No, just let it go because like I said, we're late in pruning these trees. They should have been done a few weeks ago, or maybe late in the middle of March. Like it is now. That's a joke about how it's growing, but we are a month ahead. Just so you know, middle of March would be an okay time usually to trim your trees. But just that last snowfall, when you think it might be that last snowfall, late February is okay. So prune off anything dead. We prune off anything damaged, anything diseased. Those 3, dead, damaged, and diseased, are the 3 that you always want to take off. You also want to take off your 4th D is dumb. Anything that's dumb comes off the tree, and that could be anything. Okay? So now we're going to talk about training this tree. We have a lot of problems here because that tree was not trimmed last year. One of these vertical leaders should have been left, and one of them should have been taken. Okay, boy, I should have brought a bigger pruner. Your hand pruners will cut things up to about 3/4 of an inch. Okay? That's about the size of your finger. You can practice, but don't get too close. Okay? I basically cut off what you'll be getting in the mail if you order from us later. Right? This tree is not that old. This shouldn't be allowed to happen because that is a big wound on the tree. Now, another rule of thumb that you'll hear is cut off no more than 25 to 30% of your tree in a given year. Okay? That can be a problem if you've got to really work it. Neglected a tree for a couple of years, it may take you a couple of years to get back to where you're pruning off, where your tree is where you want it to grow.
Before you cut off the other one, why did you cut off the one you did? I would have cut off the one you're cutting now.
Okay. Why would you have cut this one off? Or why would you have done the other one?
So close to the other one.
Because they're so close?
So close. It looks like you got. Yeah, you didn't want that wide. You don't want the wide.
Yeah, I definitely don't want. I can't have both. You can't have 2 top trees. Okay. So I cut this one. This one is growing toward the trunk. So it's the weight of the tree is above the trunk as opposed to hanging out. Either one would have been okay. Okay? Either one would have been fine. I could have taken the other off as well. I took that one off because it's above the trunk. Okay, I thought you were going to say because this one had nicer branches. Okay? But that also is not the right answer because any given year you don't want your tree to grow 4 feet. Okay? You want your tree to grow 8 to 12 inches really. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to find a good bud, and I'm going to take this back, okay? That's the new top of the tree, okay? Remember, trees are good growing wood. These trees, you can see that thing grew in a year, okay? That's 3/4 of an inch thick right there. That's a lot of wood to grow, okay? That's the new top of the tree, okay? Dumb branches. We talked, this thing's here, that's going to be no good. This one actually, back 3 years ago, they made that cut, and this one started growing. These are all too close, okay? This branch could be okay if I had, right, and again, see, that didn't take any work to make that down. When this tree was planted, it had been bundled up in that package, in a box. And if that was just pulled out, it would have grown out last year. However, that's a little bit low. and it's really close to this one. I like this branch. I'm going to take this one off. Okay? So that one comes off. This one's growing out. That's great. I'm going to head it back, okay, to this here. I'm picking a bud that's growing up. If I cut it back, when you're making your cut, we talked about making your cut so that your prune is just before or just after a bud and angled toward the bud, okay? So instead of having a bunch of extra wood there, I don't want to stub like that because that'll die, cause rot, and then there will be rot inside the tree. I'll cut back to about a 1/4 inch from the bud, and so it's angled so the extra is by the bud. That's actually a little long. I can cut off a little bit more, but making that second part. Now, we're making a stairway, right? Walking up our tree. I want to keep this branch here, but I don't want all of it. I want to take off most of it because I'm going to train it also, okay? I'm going to train that down. We're making a stairway on our tree. This here, that is competing with the top now. It's huge. It's also growing. There's a funky union right here. All this bark that's growing on is going to cause a problem. That needs to go. Okay? The angle cuts, if you make a thing on top, if you make a flat cut, water can sit on there, things can get in. It makes a bigger surface area, but water will run off of it, and it's reaching the branch. You're growing that way. You're leaving a little bit more room for that bud. You know, because like I said, there's that collar around the branch. You're leaving a little bit more live tree inside there. Okay? All right, so we're working on our stairway. 1, 2, 3. This one's going to come down. All right? Let's see. I got to decide one of these to keep. Okay? These are, see these 3 coming out of the same place? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and take.
Oh, exactly. When the trees don't grow. They grow fast.
Right. You know how long it took these 3 to grow? This from here up was last year. Down was the year before. Okay? This tree is going to put out a lot of wood. Okay? And can that be, that was asked earlier, can that be rooted? Yes, however, remember this has a special rootstock at the right size. Those will grow into probably a standard size tree if you were to root it. Okay? Alright, so I've got...
I have a suggestion before you continue.
Yeah.
For those of us behind, it's real hard to see. If everybody's like step back about 6 steps.
Oh, sure, yeah, thank you.
Make the circle a little bigger.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay low so people behind can see what's happening too.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Keep in mind, fruit trees are really good at growing wood. Okay? Like I said, remember with a standard or with a shade tree, you can let it go for a couple of years, come back and knock these branches off because they're not going to be part of the equation. You're choosing branches right now that are going to be your fruiting branches. If I leave all these, I'm going to have so many leaves out here that no sunlight is going to get to my fruit. It's going to put out so much fruit that it can't ripen all of them. Okay? It's also going to be so wet in there after a rain, no air will get to that, and it will be a welcome spot for diseases and pests to be a problem. Okay? So it seems really dramatic. And you guys, you know, we can mourn our little branches later. But if I let this grow, this grew a foot last year, almost a foot. It'll grow another foot this year. This thing's going to be way out here before it ever starts, you know, building itself up. Okay? It's not going to, it's not going to develop well. I'm going to take this back. Now, if I cut back to a small bud on last year's wood, it's going to grow out more. If I cut back to, hey, can you guys see the difference? This was last year's wood. This here was last year's wood. This is the year before. You can see the color difference. This was a bud, a little spur, that grew out. If I cut back more, it's going to strengthen that branch and make it, it'll grow out a little bit and grow stronger. Okay? So, I'm cutting back to that wood from the year before because these were not trimmed, you know, and again, they planted in August, they didn't do anything wrong to put these trees in because they needed to just get them in the ground, and now we can do our first pruning. Once again, I've got a stairway going here. I don't want, these 3 are just too close together, okay? So this one's going to come out. Oh, no. All right. Again, these right across from each other, I already chose this one, so this is going to come out. We've got our stairway. Take this one out too. Everybody doing okay? All right, well, it looks like it, but it's going to grow a lot of fruit. I'm going to cut this one back to to older wood. However, this bud looks a little funky. I mean, sometimes you just, you know, it just does not look right. So I'm going to pick it one farther back. Now again, I'm cutting back, and it might look like I'm just cutting and cutting because I just need to get back. But I'm picking a bud that's growing in a direction that I want it to grow. Okay? So you cut back to a bud that is growing. If it was growing down, or if it, like this one looks growing back to the inside of the tree, anything that grows back toward the inside of your tree, you want to get rid of. Okay?
So it takes actually.
You want it to grow out, right? You want it to grow out.
You want it growing out. I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, it takes about 5 years.
Yeah, if you planted your tree now, you see all these apple blossoms on here? These big, heavy ones, those are going to be flowers. Those are apple blossoms. Sorry, these here are apple blossoms. Oh, okay, well, you're right. You'll see it. Those are apple blossoms. You'll see in 1 second. Okay? She asked, is this bud growing towards the tree? Because this is growing up. I don't want that to grow up because it's now in competition with my leader. Now is when, so we have done some pruning. That's our first step, to get the branches that we want. And this looks dramatic, right? This looks dramatic. However, if this was done when this tree was this big, would it be so dramatic? No. No. Look at what I did. All I did was left this branch, took off this one, left this branch, took off this one, and took off that one, knocked this thing back, and got rid of this because it's going a little funky. Okay? Oh, and I'm going to knock this back a little bit. That's stupid. So I'm going to actually... Oh, I'm sorry. Just leave one. That's dead. I'm going to take it off. I did the same thing right here as I did to that tree. It's just a year and a half later, 2 years later, because that wasn't done. Oh, this guy's going to run into my lawnmower.
No, we said the rule of thumb, don't take back more than 25 or 30% of the total tree.
Right.
But it looks like we kind of went over that here. Is that kind of a flexible
rule of thumb? Right. Rule of thumb. It's not a law. And remember what I said about not making these cuts? A cut that you don't make now is 5 cuts that you're going to have to make next year. Okay? All right.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
And one is, you have the one, see the one going out for the woman with the sunglasses?
Yes?
That.
Yeah, you don't like that?
Well, and then my other question is, like apple trees, trim them so they're like this, and stone fruit like peaches and cherries, do they have a different shape?
We're going to do the peach next.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it's going to be dramatic. You're going to hold on your head. Okay, I was mentioning our buds. We have a lot of fruit buds on here. How old is this tree? 3 years old. What did I say? Somebody just asked about when I'm going to get fruit. 3 to 5 years from when you plant your tree. Because those roots were cut. Those roots are not able to produce enough sugar and enough water for the fruit to come on. If you left some of these, you would probably get fruit. But if you grew if every one of these turned into an apple, you would get a bunch of little apples. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Pear trees. I keep pear trees. You'll get a lot of little pears on that. Okay.
Question real quick about the source. Are all these organic sources of fruit trees, and if they aren't, do you know of any particularly organic sources?
Those may or may not be organic. I'm not sure. You can ask when you order them. I don't know if they're organically grown, but I mean, fruit trees are so. It's not really a natural thing, anyways. It's grafted. They actually like made a mutant of 2 different trees together. So there's not, you can grow trees organically, but if you buy a tree from any of these places and then, plant it and you can grow it organically. But you're talking about, you've only got so many.
Like organically grown nurseries?
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. You can
look online or something.
Yeah, you can, and like I said, ask them when you talk to them. And growing fruit organically, it's very difficult. If you want good, healthy fruit, if you want spots on your apples and worms, that's great. You can grow it organically. But it's not really promoted in this area to grow organically. It's very difficult to do. Okay, I'm just looking at this as I go, and this is still bigger than that. I'm actually going to take this back a little bit more. Okay, because right. Remember now, again, it seems dramatic, but it's not. It's all the same. Okay, it's all the same. It was done later, and we said 25%. We're correcting mistakes right now. This is going to grow a lot of vertical wood. These guys are going to have to come in and knock back a bunch of water sprouts or suckers that grow up. And again, if you wait until the fall, all those water sprouts will get thick. If you wait until the spring, they'll all be that thick. If you come back when they're growing and just knock back buds, you can just do it with your finger. It's just rub it down and those come off, okay? No problem.
this one is going down at the bottom.
Yeah, that's growing down. That problem that may die off itself, but you can just you can just like that. You can just take it right off, no problem. This one is going to be a problem. Well, that's a spur that's going to grow some fruit. You'll want to. That'll probably just get knocked off itself. Now we're going to train this tree. We did some pruning. Yes.
So if I have an organic garden, I can't grow fruit trees in that area at
No.
all?
I'm not saying you can't grow organic fruit. It can be done. It just you have to make good decisions right off the bat about disease resistance and as time goes by, more and more varieties are getting more resistant. They're developing varieties that are more disease resistant. Okay, if you like Jonathan's, they were susceptible to blight and scab. Now there's a variety called Jonna Free. It's not as susceptible, so you can plant that tree instead of a regular Jonathan, and you'll have to do less spraying. Okay, there are also organic varieties of the pesticide that you can use. They may not be as effective. It's just going to take you more time to establish a good organic orchard, and like I said, there's not a lot of resources out there. It can be done. If you're willing to put the time and effort in, and if you pick good varieties, you can grow your trees organically. I don't want to make you guys think that you can't do that. It's just going to require effort on your part.
How far away you need to grow the trees?
Oh, if you're, I'm not sure what those rules are about the distance. You probably have to have some kind of barrier between either space or a tree row or something like that, so that you have to watch your drift and be very careful. Yeah, you're overspraying your drift could be a problem. I understand. Yeah, if you're trying to get certified and you want to grow fruit trees conventionally, you will have to watch that, but I don't have the numbers for that. I'm not sure of them. Okay, so we have named our tree. Right?